Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick
I'm Jackson.
I'm Tyler.
from Top Notch Sports, and today we're going to be discussing the Green Bay Packers. Last week, we talked about whether or not this team was heading in the right direction and can they win the division or make the playoffs. This week, following the loss to Atlanta, we're going to discuss what happened in that game, how's it looking going forward in this upcoming week's game. So before we do anything, we got a Green Bay Packers expert on with us today. Okay, Tyler, you're here. So I'm going to kick it off to Tyler. What did you see last game? What do you think about this team? What's your opinion on the division? I'm going to let you kind of discuss and kind of rebut or agree with what our last video was, whether or not we think they can win the division and so on and so forth. So what do you think, Tyler, being a Packers expert here?
Yeah, it was definitely a heart or sort of a gut-wrenching loss. I'm not going to say quite heartbreaking because it's earlier in the year and we were already down a lot of starters. Christian Watson, unfortunately, out. Aaron Jones, out. David Bakhtiari, out, which really hurt, and all of their absences were felt strongly in this game. And even though we only lost by one, it does still hurt because we did have a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter, and the whole team basically fell apart. Like, I know every Packers fan wants to blame Joe Barry, and trust me, I don't fully disagree with that, but the offense didn't get anything going in the fourth quarter, and the defense couldn't stop anything in the fourth quarter, which ultimately led us to losing by a measly 1 point. But there was a lot of positives. Jordan Love had another 3-touchdown performance game. And overall, the defense played well the first half of the game, they played really well. Second half was, well, really, I should say it was good for 3 quarters. In that fourth quarter, it just completely went off the rails and shit hit the fan, unfortunately. But again, it is one game. We're 1-1, better than 0-2. And we were able to snatch one of the games on the road, which is ultimately what we wanted. It would have been nice if we got both two, but hey, you got one, and simple, you got to deal with it. And I just hope we can learn from our mistakes this game that will ultimately, hopefully, be cleaned up against New Orleans, who looks pretty good through 2 games. They're 2-0. They'll be heading to Lambeau for Jordan Love's home debut. So, and the run defense has to get better too. Bijan Robinson, I know he's really good. Trust me, he's a complete monster. But he absolutely carved and sliced and diced our defense like it was Swiss cheese. And it's been a problem in Green Bay for years. And it really got bad when Lucas Van Ness unfortunately got hurt. So I think that really opened up the Falcons' running game a lot. And they took advantage, and hey, they capitalized, and congrats to them. They actually look to be a solid team this year, and surprisingly, the NFC South as a whole actually looks good because remember, almost everyone was crowning this as the worst division in football. That might go to the NFC North now, but overall, while it is a bummer, it is week 2. We still have a long season to go, and while it is a sour taste in my mouth, overall, we just gotta, we gotta have all eyes focused on New Orleans and simply move on.
I agree. No, I 100% agree. I mean, look, New Orleans is a tough game. It's going to be a tough one, as you mentioned. That defense is potent. But my thing is that the Atlanta Falcons aren't nothing to be, to joke around about either. Like you said, really good run game. Arthur Smith playing to the run. And ultimately, Jordan Love looked decent again. I think he's making strides going forward. I don't know what happened. They were up by 12. I watched the game. It was like, I honestly, I can't tell you what happened. It was just like you were up 12, and I was like, I had money on the Packers winning. They were the underdogs in this one going into it. I was like, they're not the underdogs. And next thing you know, they lose. I'm like, damn, like, I don't even know. I watched the full game. I saw it all happen before my eyes. I can't put a finger on what actually happened for them to lose. Jackson, what do you think? I mean, anything about that game or looking forward? What do you think about this Packers team?
Look, this Packers team again. I think they're really solid in the end. Like I said last week, I said I think they can win the division. It all is going to go go back to there's two things. I think it's going to be the quarterback, which holds his team or excels them. And I think it's also, like you said, Tyler, the run defense. Your run defense allowed 4.6 yards per carry and 45 total carries, which is not great. So you got to improve on that. And Lucas Van Ness getting hurt towards the end of that game obviously did not help. I wasn't able to catch much of this game, unfortunately. But what I do like to see is with the absence of Christian Watson, I like that you guys were getting the rookie receivers, Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed involved. They both had touchdowns. I believe Reed had 2 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, which I think is a really good sign that you guys can, Christian Watson's not available or maybe he's getting shut down. You guys got other options. And you didn't have Aaron Jones in this game as well. So I think once the Packers are able to get him back, it's going to help out the offense a ton. Aaron Jones is a weapon in the passing game as well as the run game as well. Overall, look, the Packers are fine. It's one game, lost by 1. Like you said, Nick, the Falcons are no slob, and we're seeing that through the first 2 weeks of the season. Arthur Smith runs the ball well. If the Packers' run defense can just get a little bit better, I think this team's pretty freaking good.
I like to hop in there real fast. Arthur Smith is not necessarily running the ball. He's calling the runs. Because if he did, I don't think he would get too far. I got to just throw that in there. Arthur Smith, man, I'll tell you something. I don't think he can run, but he's calling a lot.
He can call the run pretty well.
Yes. Now, I'll say this, okay? As you mentioned, okay, with Christian Watson, the guy everyone wanted to be like, oh, this is going to be the biggest weapon of the year for the Green Bay Packers. We're seeing a lot of young guys step up. And if you're a Packers fan, you got to be excited. Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dubs. Oh my, yeah, Christian Watson. You got AJ Dillon. You got Aaron Jones. Aaron who? Maybe it's too early. I'm sorry. But no, honestly, look, I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. Please. But I'm just saying that this is the best core the Packers have had. I think you can argue almost ever. I mean, it's the youngest core I've seen. And then you got old guys like David Bakhtiari, right? Locking down that offensive. Like, I'm loving this team. On paper, Matt LaFleur, and this team can really build something nice for years to come. And when you want to talk about dynasties, this is how you do it properly. And they build up Jordan Love. Everyone hated on the Jordan Love pick. I don't want to be nasty here, but Jackson, Mike, he hated that pick. I don't know what happened. He gave it a D-. You can go back and look at the draft grade. And I gave it a decent grade. Jordan Love's my 3rd-ranked quarterback coming out of that year's draft class. And you're going to see it pan out now. Now, everyone said, 3 touchdowns. That's great. Yeah, he's throwing touchdowns. But I don't look at the stats. He's just playing pretty damn good. He's playing good. And I remember saying he had some similarity to Mahomes. And you see it sometimes. I'm not saying he's Mahomes. I'm saying his sidearm, his no looks, his just his ability to throw the ball. You see similarities to Mahomes' style of game. He's not Mahomes, Jackson. I know you're a Chiefs fan, but I'm saying there is reminiscences of Mahomes when you're looking at Jordan Love. All right, that's that. Looking forward, okay? They do got the Saints, and I'm a big Saints guy right now. I don't know if they beat the Saints, but I think they can battle. I'm not going against the Packers here. I'm not going to bet on the Saints. I bet on the Saints the last 2 weeks. I'm not betting on them against Green Bay. Then they go to, they're playing Detroit. They're playing Las Vegas. That's definitely a win in my opinion. I honestly do believe. I don't think that's a question. I really don't. Denver will be tough. Minnesota will be tough. The Rams are actually tougher than most of us were expecting. So this is a tough schedule. It is tough for this young team. But I'm telling you now, if they can scratch a few of these out, they're going to be looking all right. Jackson, anything else you want to add on that? I mean, looking forward. I mean, it's a tough schedule.
Looking forward just next week to the Saints game. The Saints are going to be, down 2 running backs around Kamara from the suspension. They could be potentially down Jamal Williams. It's still early, but don't know. That could happen. Looking back to this game against the Falcons, where did they kind of lose defensively? It was against the run. So this could be a game where the run defense gets back on the right track, which I will be looking forward to watch for sure. It looks like potentially the lead back for the Saints could be Taysom Hill. So
yeah,
you shouldn't have a tough time stopping him, but you never know. But looking forward, I think it's a tough schedule. Tough game against the Saints, and then you got the Lions after that. So you got these 2 games at home. So big games, take them, and you're in first place. So
Yeah.
significantly.
I feel like the last game, that Falcons game, was a must win for them in the sense of they have a tough schedule. I had them going 9-8, and I had them starting off 2-0. I feel like the next little stretch is gonna be tough. They got to steal one of these. Tyler, you had this team going 8-1 in their preseason luck. Do you still feel like that's about right?
Yes, I still feel pretty strongly about that. I believe this team is going to be in a lot of one-score games. I do believe that. Honestly, it could be around as many as what the Minnesota Vikings were last year. I don't think we'll be as lucky as they were last year when they went a whopping 11-0, which was the best in NFL history. But if we can go, if let's just say hypothetically, we're in 11 one-score games and we go 6-5 in those one-score games, then all right, I'm happy. And then the few other non-one-score games we break even. All right, at least you have a shot to get to 9-8, and hell, 9-8 might make the playoffs, especially since the NFC North, let's just say, did not have a good week. They literally every team lost. So this division is still very up for grabs, and I do think it is going to be a tight race up until week 18 of the season. And again, this team's very young. This is the youngest roster since the 2017 Cleveland Browns. Fortunately, we are nowhere near as bad as that team was. Yikes. But this is still a very young team. I expect a lot of trial and error, so to speak. And hopefully they can clean up the mistakes they've made early in the year, with some of the, especially the not turnovers, but the sloppy play from last week, especially in the passing game. Because I feel like under like 10 yards, when we're like getting like 1 to 9 yards, we're fine. But getting 10 plus yards in the passing game has been a struggle. So it's kind of up to Jordan Love to fix that. I saw a statistic. He was like 7 of 19 on passes, 10 plus yards. So he needs to be much more accurate, but it's still early. So there's still time. It's only his 3rd game as a starter. And, I expect there's going to be the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And if he becomes like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff level, hey, I'm happy. And I mean, that's in the modern NFL, that's franchise caliber quarterback material. And it would be lucky because obviously we got lucky with Favre. We got even more lucky with Aaron Rodgers. And while if Jordan Love becomes one of the 3 quarterbacks I said, I know that's still considered a massive downgrade. That's still a quarterback you can build around for 10 plus years if you can build around him properly.
Absolutely. And I think we saw a really good start already with the receivers and the weapons you've been able to surround them with. I believe that's all from us right now. Again, I mean, hey, if they can squeeze out a few games, 9-8 is definitely possible. Who knows? Maybe they can go 10-7. I mean, anything's possible. They got to win some of these tough games. We're going to be discussing the Cleveland Browns. Can this team find a way to scratch, claw, and make the playoffs after the terrible injury of Nick Chubb? We got Nico here with us today, who is a Browns expert. Okay, he is a Browns analyst. You can find him on Twitter. You can find him on Instagram. He is our Browns guy on this channel. Okay, I'm alongside here with Jackson, who's another top-notch sports analyst. We got a Packers guy here with Tyler, who is also one of the top-notch sports analysts. And of course, Nico's also another top-notch sports analyst, but he's also our Browns specialist. So we got a wide variety of people here today. But we're going to mainly turn the table here to Nico to first discuss last night's game and looking forward, and just kind of, give us the overall here of the Cleveland Browns. So Nico, take it away. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. I mean, I'm not going to get too high or too low. Still really happy with the Browns defense. I mean, I think they're probably 1 or 2 for the best defenses in the league. They're up there with Dallas and San Francisco. Offensively, I was pretty disappointed overall. Just, Watson didn't look his best. I would have expected him to be a lot better. We couldn't really get anything in the pass game going at all. A lot of inaccurate throws, not a lot going on really. I thought Jerome Ford was serviceable too. So I just expect better Sunday. I mean, it wasn't the best game by any means, and I think we were just outcoached by Pittsburgh.
For sure. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Pittsburgh, number one, okay, you were probably outcoached by Mike Tomlin. Not Matt Canada. let's just be honest about that. Okay. A lot of people hate Matt Canada. And I always say, just hang in there. There may be a reason. There may be the guy, the offense is looking putrid. But that defense scored 14 points yesterday. Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense scored 14 points yesterday. If anyone had them in fantasy, you probably won. Okay. And if you didn't, they made it really close for you. All right. Because scoring 2 defensive touchdowns is crazy. You look at the Browns roster and their depth chart. Amari Cooper, not a lot of respect goes on this man's name. You have to consider this guy a possible Hall of Fame candidate when it's all said and done. If he plays another 3-4 years and be able to scratch out 1,000 yards, this guy has really quietly scratched out a Hall of Fame, statistical career. When you look at his career stats, he didn't win all the MVP. He didn't win an Offensive Player of the Year, or he hasn't been named to many All-Pro teams. I don't know if he ever has, but if he gets a few of those, there may be no question. His career stats will be there if he can finish with another 3 1,000-yard seasons. He'll be right there. Deshaun Watson didn't look great. Okay, that's the fact. But let's go, Tyler. I'm going to let you just address real fast the elephant in the room. Nick Chubb, take it away.
Oh, boy. Yikes. I'm going to be nice and say yikes, because if I could say a lot worse, but Nico already has PTSD from last night, and I don't think I need to cause him any more agony than he's already going through. But that is one of the worst injuries I've seen, and definitely the worst injury I've seen this year. That knee did not look like a knee anymore. And I feel bad, though, because if you didn't hear, Minkah Fitzpatrick was getting death threats after, because he was the one involved, which, first of all, if you're sending death threats, get the hell out of here. No one wants you, and no one likes you anyways. So, and ironically enough, Minkah Fitzpatrick also got hurt with a chest injury that was so bad he couldn't return to the game. But back to Nick Chubb. Honestly, I mean, that was the same knee he ruptured in 2015 against Tennessee when he was a Georgia Bulldog. And all I hope is that he can even play again, because suffering that injury to the same knee twice is extremely difficult to recover from. And all I hope is that he's okay. Well, I know he isn't okay, but okay in the fact that he can, walk again. So I hope the best for Nick Chubb. My sincere condolences go to him, and let's just hope for a smooth recovery, no matter how long it takes. I just hope it's a smooth ride and not a bumpy ride.
All right, I'm going to take you over here. I'm going to put Tyler on mute right now. I'm not putting you on mute. Yes, this man, it's dark. It is. It was a horrible injury. And we're all praying for this guy to come back, because he is one of the best running backs. I just sat there yesterday and I said, this guy really, for all the workload he gets, he really never gets hurt. And I said, you know what else about him? This guy is quietly putting up a Hall of Fame career. And then next thing you know, I'm like, holy shit. I mean, I even had money on him possibly scoring a touchdown. I don't care about my money. But holy crap, I mean, this guy really is special. He's special. And the Browns lost a special guy. And I think we all hope, for the sake of the NFL, that he's able to come back and play good. Now, the NFL is a business, and it moves forward with or without you. And I do like Jerome Ford. You can go back and watch my scouting report on him. I think this is a guy that's a one cut and pop kind of a guy. I think he can explode. His 40 time wasn't great, but man, like I said in my scouting report with him, man, you give him this much room and he's off to the races. We saw that yesterday. Jackson, what do you want to say about the Cleveland Browns?
Look, I'm going to be blunt. This has got to be a game the Browns, you have to win this game. Their defense was too good to not win this game. Offensively, you can't be making those dumb turnovers and allowing, your offense giving the other team 14 points. This team, again, is just too good, at least on paper, to do that. The Nick Chubb thing is awful, like we've talked about, but that's got, as like, if you're a coach on that team, that's got to be in your mind for 30 seconds, and then you got to forget about it because, like you said, the NFL moves on. You got next week. Just looking forward to the schedule, they got a couple. Tennessee. I always think early in the season, Tennessee is always a tough team, and then Baltimore. Baltimore has been really good so far. Then they get their bye week: San Francisco, Indianapolis, Seattle. So thinking it kind of eases down a little bit after San Francisco. Yep, Arizona after that. But looking at the schedule and then looking at the team, the title of the video is, can the Cleveland Browns make the playoffs? They should make the playoffs. There's no reason why this team shouldn't be a playoff team. The defense is too good. You have too many weapons on offense. Even with losing, again, one of the best running backs in the league, there's so many weapons on this team. Jerome Ford, I thought, looked very good last night, and shows that he can get the workload. We'll have to see it through the next few games if he can handle the main workload. That's what I think. I think the defense is really good, and they played really good for the first half of that game until the turnovers started piling up for Cleveland.
Yeah. All right. So let me throw this out there then. Let's wrap this up quickly. Okay. The question now is not should they make the playoffs. It is will they make the playoffs. So now I'm going to put each of you on the spot. We'll wrap it up with Nico on the last one. So we're going to go Jackson, Tyler, I'll go. Then we'll go to Nico and see what he believes. But do you think they ultimately make the playoffs? Not should they, but will they? Jackson, I'm going to start with you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll make the playoffs. Just looking at the schedule, I think there's a lot of winnable games there. Yes, they will make the playoffs.
Tyler, on to you. What do you think?
This is tough. So obviously playing a very good division, perhaps some could argue the best division. I know Cincinnati's 0-2 right now, but I think they will eventually get their stuff or get a grip together. Baltimore's been playing great, and Pittsburgh has been playing all right. They had one really bad game, and they had a good game. But to answer your question, I'm going to say yes. I do believe it will be a low seed, though, because I don't think they'll win the AFC North. I think there's an outside chance. I'm not going to rule it out. But I think Baltimore has been looking really good right now with their revamped offense, and they just have a really good roster all around. Cincinnati, I think, will eventually pick it up. Pittsburgh will always be in it. They're a scrappy team. But Cleveland definitely has the talent and, the defense, which was this team's Achilles heel last year. Under new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz and a few big upgrades such as Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle, I do believe they make the playoffs, but I do believe it's as a 6 or 7 seed, maybe 5.
All right, I'm going to come on here now and say this. After losing Nick Chubb, as big as a fan as I am as Jerome Ford, I don't see it happening. I don't. I honestly don't. Look, they got a lot of talent. I think they should make the playoffs. I don't think they do. The reason why I'm saying this is this, okay? You look at the teams in the AFC. Let's say the Dolphins win the division. Well, you probably got the Bills also making the playoffs, right? I mean, that's just kind of right. I mean, at least 2. I think you can argue the Patriots make it, okay? In the AFC West, for damn sure you got the Chiefs. We know that. You're saying the Chargers don't make it? I know they're 0-2, but are they really not going to make it? You look at the AFC North, it's tough. It's a tough division. The Bengals are 0-2 right now. Who doesn't make it there? I mean, if you say the Ravens, aren't you going to at least say the Bengals too? I mean, and the Browns, the Browns are possible for sure. And then you got Jacksonville in the AFC South. So, I mean, you got 3 teams that aren't going to win the division. Bills, Patriots, Chargers. You can argue Steelers, right? Whoever doesn't win, any of those AFC North teams can make it. And last but not least, that's probably it. So you got the Patriots, the Bills, the Chargers, okay? And every team in the AFC North can possibly make the playoffs. One of those teams are going to be the other team that makes it. One of those teams. For me to right now say, after watching Deshaun Watson the other day and seeing Nick Chubb go down and saying that I think the Browns are going to make it, I can't say that. I think they can make it. I think they should be able to possibly make it with Elijah Moore and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper, right, in that phenomenal defense. But after watching them lose to this Pittsburgh Steelers last night with Nick Chubb starting the game for them, and their defense playing as good as they did, and the Steelers looking like crap? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no until I see Deshaun Watson play better. I can't say that they're going to make the playoffs. Nico, I'm going to let you wrap it up. Are you saying, I mean, you are the Browns guy. And listen, these are the videos. I need you to be realistic because I'm going to hold everyone accountable here. So if you want to change your take, change it because not every team's going to make it. So what do you honestly believe? Will this team make it, yes or no?
No. I think that Nick Chubb going down is going to be the flaw. The offense is not going to be good the rest of the year. Actually, hold on. I'm going to revise. I think that the offense will be decent. I think it'll get better as the year goes on.
Yep.
Right now, we need to focus on beating every AFC opponent because that's the only way we're getting in. The only thing that really matters is your overall record and your AFC record, in my opinion. That's all that really matters. So, and division matters too, but it's a little bit tougher with our division because it's really hard.
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb going out, I think we would have beat Pittsburgh if Nick Chubb was there yesterday because he had 71 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
71. He was probably going for 200 yesterday, in my opinion. It was looking like maybe over 200 yards rushing and probably multiple touchdowns.
And I'll add, no Cam Hayward was there, so the middle was wide open.
Every time it was. But, looking past the Nick Chubb injury, Amari Cooper looked very good yesterday, I thought, even though he's playing with a groin injury. Didn't look like he even had it to me. It looked like he was a little bit slower, but, I mean, he still had 4 catches for, I think it was 60 yards. So still good on his part. Elijah Moore, a little underwhelming, honestly. I think he just still needs to work on catching the ball better. So Donovan Peoples-Jones was horrendous last night. Couldn't feel the punt to save his life. Really put us in some bad spots. So they got a lot of flaws to work out, but I don't know without Nick Chubb if they're going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
And if they do, it won't be a very long run.
All right, so real fast now. Jackson, Tyler, are you staying firm on your stance?
Yep.
Tyler?
I'm going to stay firm.
Okay, I like it. That's
I'm
what I
going to
like
stay
to hear.
strong with my stance.
We got 2 yeses, 2 nos. We'll have to go back to this and see who's right. I love these videos. It should be fun. Last thing I want to mention, okay, and here's my take on this. And I'm going to let this one just go to Nico because we got 2 minutes left on this video at the very most. If they don't make the playoffs, I'll just add my 2 cents and I'll let you wrap this one up. If they don't make the playoffs, should Kevin Stefanski be fired? And I'll say this. I think he should have been if Nick Chubb was healthy. But after this injury, I know people say, you got to win through the adversity. I don't think you can fire this man after this. So what is your final take? You got about 1 minute and 30 seconds to let us know.
I think it ultimately depends, how the season goes. Like if it's off some last second game winning field goal to not make it or something crazy happens, then no. But I think it depends week in and week out how the team plays, how prepared were they, and I think it's the offense. I mean, Jim Schwartz is in full control of that defense. That's why they're playing that good. But he needs to get the offense going. If he can't get the offense going at all and we miss the playoffs, he's gone. And I hate to say it because I like the dude, but too much talent, too much time wasting going on with all these guys that we got. I even hate that I even have to talk about it, but it just is what it is. I mean, if you can't handle it, you got to go.
For sure. All right, so 8-9 wins. Last thing, let me just hear it. I know it's going to matter context, but 8-9 wins real fast. Stay or fire? One word.
Fire.
Fire. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to wait and see what happens. It's going to be an interesting season for the Cleveland Browns. We're going to be discussing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker and the Bucs. Is Baker Mayfield the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Wait, what? Wasn't this guy supposed to be just a fill-in for a year so they can get their guy after they lose every game? Wait, no. No, he's playing good. They're 2-0. The Buccaneers are 2-0. This team is playing good. Devin White just said he was done for wanting to ask to get out of there. Jackson, you wanted this topic. Take it away. What are you thinking about Baker and the Bucs?
Look, I think there needs to be a little bit of electricity coming out of Tampa Bay because, look, I think I'm one of the biggest Baker Mayfield supporters in the world, and I'll die on that grave. Love the guy, and this is these first, especially last week, But these first 2 weeks, he seems like he's on a mission. Like he's got a chip on his shoulder. Like he's going out there with something to prove, and that is exactly what the man has done these first 2 weeks. The first game against the Vikings, they won 20-17. Baker only threw for 173 that game with 2 touchdowns, but this last game against the Bears, he went for 26, 34, 317 yards, and a touchdown. No picks in 2 weeks for Baker, which I think is something that is, everyone needs to write that down. Look, man, this team, like we said, everyone thinks coming into the year this division was going to be, a rough division. And so far, that's not the case. A lot of these teams are playing very well, and that is including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Offensively, this team has got great weapons. We know what Mike Evans can do, Chris Godwin can do, and then Cade Otton. That's who I was trying to mix those names together. Cade Otton's a guy I like a lot at tight end. And defensively, I think they can definitely get better. Looks 17 points again. If you're giving up 17 points a game defensively, that's great. I think they could have given up less to the Bears. And then defensively, week 1, I loved what they did. Just going based off, the schedule. They do have a tough game coming up Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that game will be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. So they are going to have the home crowd. But that is going to be the biggest test for me in what I think of the future of this Bucs team. Can Baker Mayfield against Philadelphia, can he just get the job done? Keep doing what he's doing. He's not making mistakes right now. If he can keep doing that, and you can make this a close game in Philadelphia. I'm not saying they have to win this game, but if he can make it close and make it interesting towards the end, things are going to keep looking up for Baker Mayfield.
Absolutely. Look, here's the thing about the Buccaneers, right? 2-0 right now. As you mentioned, they're versing the Philadelphia Eagles. They went to the Super Bowl last year. One thing about Baker is he has nothing to lose right now, and he's playing that way. He's running for first downs. He's throwing his body out there. He's picking up plays most quarterbacks aren't willing to do. Why? Because they still don't have their career. Their career isn't on the line. Their back is up against the wall. Baker's back is against the wall. If he doesn't do it, if he doesn't make that 3rd and 1 first down, if he doesn't run for that extra yard, he will be replaced. And Baker knows that. And Baker also has the guts to do it. So when you look at Baker Mayfield, he's going to do everything he can. He's going to put his body on the line. If he gets hurt, he's done. If he gets hurt, he's done. Because if he gets hurt and they start to lose, they're probably going to draft somebody. But if he can continue to stay healthy and play like his hair's on fire, man, this guy can put a really good show on tape. And not only that, the players around him are going to love him. Why? Because he's willing to there's not too many quarterbacks willing to put their body on the line. He's willing to do it. And he hypes up the entire sideline. What do you think, Tyler? What do you think about Baker and the Bucs? Any first impressions that you got to put out there?
Well, they've definitely been arguably the most surprising team in the league, and they actually look like a fairly well-rounded team, and I'm actually really most surprised with the offensive line protecting Baker Mayfield. They only allowed 1 sack the week prior against the Minnesota Vikings, who have a fairly solid pass rush, and against the Bears, who I know upped their pass rush with Yannick Ngakoue and some other additions. They hold their own. They didn't allow a single sack, and despite the offensive line being pretty banged up early, Brian Jensen, their starting center, apparently, unfortunately, he may never play again, unfortunately. So good. My sincere condolences goes to him, but back on topic. And Mayfield, you're right. He's playing like he has nothing to lose, and he has nothing to lose. Everyone gave up on him except for Tampa Bay, and he beat out Kyle Trask for the starting spot, and he's definitely playing like a starting caliber quarterback. And he's done well with the resources that he's had. And now let's not act like the cupboard isn't barren in Tampa. You still have Mike Evans. You still have Chris Godwin. Cade Otton is a serviceable tight end, and Rachaad White is trying to develop into the starting caliber running back in Tampa Bay. But overall, I've been very impressed. If he can continue the way he's playing, sort of like how he did in Cleveland for that 1 year in 2020, then hell, Buccaneers might be fighting for a playoff spot. Now, I'm not going to guarantee a playoff spot, but now if they beat the Eagles, then we might have to start talking playoffs, because if they win that game, I mean, 3-0, you're looking very pretty. And this NFC South, which originally looked like for anyone's grab, still is, but we thought it was just going to be one team out of a bunch of mediocre schmuck that was just going to win it, and whoever was the best mediocre team was going to win it. But hell, we might have like a legit dogfight between maybe three competitive teams: the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Saints, all 2-0. No one would have thought that, or at least unless you were drunk high on something and just happened to put it on your phone without knowing anything. But I'm impressed, and Todd Bowles has done an excellent job with that defense. They only allowed 17 points against Minnesota last week, and that high octane offense. And they only allowed 17 to Chicago, who was supposed to have a revamped offense. Unfortunately, that hasn't been really the case right now, but they've done a really good job at capitalizing on their opportunities, and they're playing with a team that has nothing to lose, and that's what I like most about this Buccaneers squad. They're playing like they don't give a care in the world about anyone thinks or about what anyone says. They're just going out there playing football and getting the job done.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, here's something too. Like you mentioned, there's multiple points that I agree and understand what you're saying. And the first thing is this: you said Eagles. Eagles is a big game, and you know I'm not expecting them to win it. I don't know if they will, but if they can stop the run game, because now it's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, I think, is their offensive coordinator over there in Philadelphia. He loves to run the ball. Brian Johnson. If they can stop the run, Devin White, right? If they can stop the run over there in Tampa, okay, Vita Vea, we all know, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, right? This is a pretty dang good defense still. Antoine Winfield's more coverage guy, but still, they could very well win that game. The Philadelphia Eagles don't look good. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. That should be another segment that we do. And we will be talking about the Bears. I know you mentioned them. That will be our next segment, so get ready for that one. So if you guys are interested, tune into that one as well. But listen, the Eagles game, yeah, they can win. If they lose, so what? The biggest game I see is their next game against the Saints. Because if they can beat the New Orleans Saints, which the New Orleans Saints defense looks phenomenal, if they can beat the Saints, they're probably first in the division. And man, oh man, wouldn't that be crazy if Baker and the Bucs can win this damn division? But now back to the main segment. And like you mentioned too, Tyler, one other thing I want to mention, he does have weapons. Anyone that doesn't say he has weapons is nuts. Godwin, Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer. Godwin's always been pretty dang good. Trey Palmer is a nice little gadget guy that they can use, quick and stuff. And then you got Rachaad White, who I love coming out of college, big guy that can catch and run. And they also got Sean Tucker, who I'm a fan of. Okay? Defense is still very solid. He has a lot of good vets around him. But now back to the main topic of this video. Is Baker Mayfield the future of this team? So I just want to first start with this. Because we're all going to say, yeah, if they do good, then yes. But I'm saying right now, this second, we don't know. You got to make a prediction. Is he their guy for the next 3 seasons? Because I'll say this. Baker is a really good guy. At least he has been, right? I think he could have been the Browns franchise guy. I really do. But he could be a really good guy that you plug in. He plays with his hair on fire for a few years, and then you find a replacement. Like Tampa's doing right now, right? He played with it. They look all right, and then they find a replacement. Then he goes to another team that looks all right. They find a replacement. He can do this for the rest of his career and never be a future guy. But do we believe that he will be the quarterback for the next 3 seasons? That's tough to say. So I want to hear, do you think he can be, and ultimately, will he be? So Jackson, I'm going to start with you. Do you think he can be, and then will he be? Because they're two totally different things. What do you think?
Do I think he can be the next franchise quarterback of the team? I absolutely think he can. I love Baker. I think the world of the guy. He's a great leader. Will I think he will be. I'm going to say no for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think the team is going to perform well enough to want to give Baker another contract. I think the quarterback class that's coming up is, there's going to be a couple guys in there. I think Tampa Bay will be in position to get one, and they will get one. I do think Baker is going to play well enough, though, himself that he's going to go get a job next season and get a multi-year contract from some other team. So do I think Baker Mayfield will be the franchise guy for this team? No. Will I think he'd be the franchise guy for another team next year? I do think he will.
So you think that he'll find a team and he'll be the guy for the next 3 years for another team?
Yes, I don't think it'll be the Bucs.
Okay, Tyler, fast. What do you think? Will he be and sorry. Do you believe he should be? And then will he be?
That's tough. Do I think he can be the starter for Tampa Bay for the next 3 seasons? Yes. Though I do believe if he does play, if he if he lights it up, I do believe they'll give him a sort of, I guess, franchise tag treatment. They'll give him like a big 1-year deal and see if he plays well the next year. And if he does play well that next year, then they're going to probably extend him long term. If not, which I feel is the more likely scenario, I do believe he will get a starting job elsewhere, and Tampa will pick from a plethora of extremely talented quarterbacks. Now, I don't think they'll probably be bad enough, nowhere near bad enough, to get, Caleb Williams, Drake May, or maybe even a Quinn Ewers. But maybe Shedeur Sanders, possibly, assuming you think he's a first-round talent. I don't know what you have him graded as right now from what you've seen of him, but he has looked pretty damn darn impressive, though it does suck he lost one of his best weapons in Travis Hunter the other week. So that's definitely got to hurt, but he should still be fine. And I feel like and Michael Penix depends on how people view him because I know he's a little older. So, but if they're willing to take on the task of that, they definitely can. But to point, do I think he can be a starter for the next 3 seasons in Tampa? Yes, but I feel the Buccaneers will go in a different direction. And I do believe, however, Mayfield will find a new team that will give him a decent contract for, let's say, 2 years.
All right, so let me get this clear again. You do not think they will have him be the franchise for the next 3 years, but do you think they should let him be? Is my question. Yes or no? If you're the GM, would you do it? Without knowing right now, this second, you can't say, well, if they win, yes. And do you do it based off what you've seen?
Do I do it based off of what I've seen? Honestly, no. Because I feel like in order to get to that Super Bowl level that obviously every team wants to be, I feel you need to be more than a game manager. Then Baker has been his best when he's been a game manager, maybe a little more dynamic than a game manager. Maybe that's a little harsh, but I feel like you need a little bit more of that, what should I call it, X factor, so to will. Like, this guy can, lead your team to victory even when the team exactly isn't playing well. So, and I don't know if Baker Mayfield's a guy that can do that consistently. Now, to be fair, it is super hard to find those guys that can do what I just said, that can lead you to victory in odds where it's definitely not favorable. There's only a few quarterbacks, I think, that can really do that.
Yeah.
But obviously that's what every team wants to find, and I'm sure Tampa Bay will do the same. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah, right. If he's playing the way he is right now, I think it's fair to say yes, they could. But I'm going to say, will they? No. Should they? If he continue playing like this, yes, right? But right now, this second, I got to also say no. So I think we're all saying, Jackson, did you say yes, they should?
Yeah.
But we're all agreeing that they will not, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so the only difference is, and again, Jackson, I see your point with why they should. I mean, he's playing great right now, and I mean, he really didn't deserve not to be the guy for the Browns, but I don't know if He's older. I feel like there's probably more guys coming out. Will they have a good pick? I don't know. They might ultimately do it. I mean, if they make the playoffs this year, they might just sign him to a 2-3 year deal and it'll be like the next Geno Smith. Although I do feel like Baker Mayfield is better than Geno Smith. Here's another thing I want to mention real fast, and then we're going to wrap this up because we already said what we think about Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Here's the thing. I mentioned in a previous video about Todd Bowles, okay, having no money in my salary video. And I said, if he fails this year, which everyone assumed that he would, should he be fired? And I said, no, he shouldn't be because he honestly, Bruce Arians left. They have no money. They're negative salary cap, and he just left crumbs. And this guy's making this team compete. So you got to give this man credit. You got to give him credit. He's doing a phenomenal job for a team that nobody thought was going to be good, and he has zero salary cap. They're in the negatives. So you got to give him a round of applause. And, man, I mean, I'll tell you something. You got to – I mean, if they can win the division – you got to say, I mean, I didn't think this, but he can end up being one of the Coach of the Year candidates. He really could be. So just keep that in mind. That's all from us. So right now, what we're saying, Jackson, well, we're all saying no, he will not be the future of the Bucs is the answer to this video. But Jackson is deferring and saying he believes that he should be and that he could be. And I think we're all agreeing that he could be if he ends up playing pretty good. But right now, me and Tyler are saying we would not give him the money right now this second. All right. That's all from us. Jackson, anything else? Because I kind of left you out. Anything else that you want to mention, or do you want to just get to the next one?
I was just going to say, I think they should keep him because you got to look at the roster, and they're kind of turning over a little bit. They went all in for the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Now that whole roster is turning over. You don't want to bring in a young quarterback to a roster that's turning over.
For sure. No, I agree with your point. And again, I mean, they could let Baker be that guy for a few years, or if they'll let him walk, they can find somebody else because maybe Baker will want a little bit more money. And the whole thing is that Baker, I feel like, could be that guy that just bounces around from team to team, plays with his hair's on fire, and ultimately never gets a long-term deal, which is going to kind of stink for him because, I mean, we saw it with Cleveland. Now we're going to see it with Tampa, and we might see it with somewhere else. We're going to be talking about should the Chicago Bears, push the panic button on Justin Fields. Jackson, we got to be quick with this segment. We got to be quick. What do you think about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears team?
Look, what I think of this team is, from the first 2 weeks of the season, I feel like it's been very disappointing. I think a lot of people are looking to see dramatic strides from Justin Fields as a passer, and that's just not what we've seen so far, especially with the addition of they brought him in with wide receiver one, the bona fide wide receiver one, and DJ Moore. So is it time to push the panic button on Fields? This next game against the Chiefs, if he can't get anything going throwing the ball, I would push the panic button.
What do you think, Tyler? I mean, there's one panic button. It's pressed. On to you, Tyler. What do you think?
Now, I don't like to use the word panic button because I don't think it solves anything. But if we're saying, I more like to say pull the plug. Honestly, if this happens to midseason, definitely yes. And he hasn't been the sole problem for the Bears' struggles. And remember, I know this team got some hype, but remember, they were literally the worst team last year, and they lost 10 straight to close out last year. So that's obviously not a good sign. But look, adding a bunch of pieces and, it definitely helps, but it's not going to – most of the time it doesn't work instantly. And I think everyone thought after Jalen Hurts, Fields would kind of do the same, but it just simply hasn't turned out that way, whether it be not the best quarterback development or just some people are just stagnant when it comes to certain attributes. And overall, it's definitely been disappointing to Bears fans. Was I expecting, like some people are saying, MVP candidacy? Hell no. But I did expect at least decent progress, but it seems he's around the same as he was last year, which isn't exactly great when you're trying to find your franchise quarterback, which has been now going on since they had Sid Luckman, which was when World War II started. So, yeah, the 8 decades and counting they've been trying to find a starting quarterback. So it's definitely been not the ideal start for Chicago.
Yeah, and I'm gonna mention this, okay? I was not a huge fan of Justin Fields coming out. Did he have an arm? Yes. Did he run? Yes. Could he go through progressions? Not really. I had many concerns about him from the beginning. Now, I don't feel like the Bears are doing the best job building a team around him or playing towards his strengths, which stinks. But most of my concerns about him coming out of the draft as a prospect are still true to this day. And remember, this guy was supposed to be an MVP candidate, like Tyler mentioned, by everybody, right? Everyone, oh, Justin Fields MVP candidate this year. That completely, where's the national media now about that, right? Where are they? I mean, they still love picking on Justin Herbert because Brandon Staley sucks. But man, nobody's talking about Justin Fields. Why isn't anybody saying Justin Fields stinks and he's not elite like he was? Right? Where's the national media on that? But although I'm bashing Justin Fields in that aspect, I gotta say, I have not been a fan of Matt Eberflus when they hired him, and I'm still not a fan of him now. I don't like the hiring. DJ Moore Jackson, you mentioned number one. I think he's a 1B. I don't think he's a true number one. I think there's a lot that this team can still do better for Fields. But am I paying this guy after this? No. The dude's throwing for barely over 200 yards the last 2 games. 1 touchdown in each game. He threw for 3 interceptions. He has 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Is he able to run? Yes. But again, I always say you got to be a passing first quarterback if you want to succeed in the NFL. And Justin Fields right now is not that. Can he develop into that? Yes, maybe. But we got to see somebody be willing to build an offense around this guy. And the Bears have not been able to do it. And honestly, I think they might move on from him, not get a lot for him, and screw it. I mean, they're going to be drafting another quarterback probably maybe this year. So that really stinks if you're the Bears. It does. Because they got absolutely nothing for Fields. They passed on a quarterback this year, and it just really stinks. And really, I mean, between Nagy and Eberflus, neither of them built a team really around this guy. They didn't. So it stinks, but it is what it is. All right, that's that. Anything else that you guys want to mention? So I'm pressing the panic button, and I mean, Tyler, are you pressing or are you just pulling the plug?
I'm going to say pull the plug because I don't like to pay. I'm more of a guy that, okay, let's just cut our losses. We have to move on. And that's just how the NFL is. You have to cut your losses and move on. There's nothing you can do. You can't go fathomizing, oh, what if this, what if that? You're just wasting time. It's not a productive activity. Trust me. I've thought of it myself. I've done it myself. It is not a good habit. So please do not ever do it. I'd definitely pull the plug, and unfortunately, you're going to have to draft another quarterback again and have to reshape the roster around him again. Yep. And it's just a mess.
All right, last thing I'm going to say real fast, just one word, yes or no. Jackson. Well, actually 2, so we got to do both. Are you keeping Fields after this year? I mean, if they got to pay, I mean, I don't know when they got to pay him. When's that? This year or is it
after? They have to pick up his 5th year this year or not.
So, I mean, let me ask you, will they pick up his 5th year, and would you? Just real fast. Will you? Or
no.
Would you? No, and will they?
No.
Tyler, would you?
First of all, hell no, it's going to happen. Second of all, hell no, they're not going to do it if Ryan Poles has an IQ above 60.
So you wouldn't do it either, correct?
No way in hell. I'm not paying much for almost essentially a triple option quarterback.
Yeah, and at this point, I can't do it right now unless we see major improvements going forward. I wouldn't do it, and no, I don't think they will do it. And it just stinks that if they moved on maybe this year and drafted a guy or did something, they could have got a lot more from Fields. We're going to be discussing whether or not the Buffalo Bills are going to win that tough AFC East division following the Aaron Rodgers injury, and looking at the Miami Dolphins that are tough, and looking at New England that's been holding their own. So real fast, we got me here. I'm a top-notch sports analyst, right? I am my own thing. We got Jackson, who's another one. We got Tyler here, who's more specializes in the Packers. And we got Bills Mafia, okay, who runs an awesome Bills page on Instagram. I highly recommend you guys following that. We're going to start with him. Bills, what do you think about the game against the Raiders? Me and Jackson did a video about should we press a panic button with the Bills after week 1? What are you thinking here? I mean, what's your rebut to us or agreement with us after that one, the Raiders game, and looking forward? What do you think?
Yeah, so I'd just like to start by pointing out there was a lot of overreaction with that first game from Josh Allen. Now, obviously, you never want to see your quarterback turn over the ball 4 times like that, and he didn't play very good, but it's clear you don't just go from being a very good player to terrible the next season. So there was a lot of overreaction. And Josh Allen also is the first QB to have, I think, 5 career games with 3 passing touchdowns while completing over 80% of the passes, and he currently leads the league in completion percentage right now. Now, mind you, it is 2 games in, so it very that can change very quickly. But it just goes to show that even in that game where he had 4 turnovers, he was still doing good things. It was just he made some bad decisions, and it seemed like he was trying to make up for those bad decisions, and it kind of led to more, like problems. I'd also like to mention that a lot of people had concerns about the run game last year and even coming into this year because they didn't really believe in James Cook. I think just watching that Raiders game should basically eliminate that. He averaged like 7 yards a carry. And he's always making plays once he gets space, but even if there isn't space, he almost always finds a way to at least make it back to the line of scrimmage so we're not losing yards. Obviously, you're a Raiders fan. I'm not exactly sure if you watched the game. I'm assuming you did, but there's probably a couple times where you noticed like a guy wraps up James Cook in the backfield, and then he's back reaching and he gets like a yard or two somehow. I feel like that's probably frustrating to watch being a fan of the other team, but it's something I love about James Cook. So
Absolutely. Look, I'm a huge fan of James Cook. I'll tell you that much right now. I liked him coming out of college. I think he's a good running back. I feel like you guys got to get him the ball. I mentioned that in the other video. You got to get him the ball, whether it's receiving, running. I like James. I mean, what's your take on James? I mean, real fast. You like him too, right? I mean,
yeah, I love him.
yeah.
I think he's great. He looks a lot like his brother does, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
All right, this is what I'll mention. You did mention about how people, overreacted to the Josh Allen thing, and I'll say this. Josh Allen's a top 2 quarterback I've ever watched tape on. Him and Justin Herbert were my top 2 I've ever watched tape on. You can flip them back and forward however you want. I think I mentioned in the last video I would take Herbert over him out of the 2 when I watched them coming out, but man, it's close. And I agree that there's no way that a guy can just become bad in one season. This is one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. And nobody should be saying that. But what I will question is, and I mentioned it then, and I'm going to mention it now, is Ken Dorsey. What do you think about Ken Dorsey, your offensive coordinator? I mean, I do feel like, Brian Daboll kind of limited the turnovers and stuff with him. What's your take on Ken Dorsey in this offense, how it's changed slightly since Brian Daboll left? I mean, is that a true concern to at least make?
I do think there can be sometimes issue with Ken Dorsey. I do remember in the Jets game when we went to overtime, there was a call on 2nd and 15, and he decided to do like a halfback draw, and it just got pummeled. James Cook didn't get anywhere. It's like, why are you calling that on 2nd and 15 in overtime? There's just some plays. He's obviously still very young and very new to the offensive coordinator thing. So I have a lot of flexibility with him. Whereas a lot of people are just like, I want to get this guy out, fire him. Why are we not better than we were with Dayball? I think some people just are way too quick to jump the gun on things. And another thing too, I think he can be good. He just needs to probably communicate a bit more with Josh Allen when he's calling these plays, like what he wants Josh Allen to like do when he's making these calls. Like I feel like because he currently sits up in the box, he's not on the sideline. So I think one thing is he probably should come down to the sideline. I know obviously you get the whole like field view up there. But just being able to communicate to your players when you make a call and something goes wrong, like they probably have a bit of miscommunication there.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
as the offensive coordinator myself, I love being on the. I could not, as much as a booth. I mean, being in the booth helps because you can see the whole thing. You see the defense easier, and it helps you. It really does. I cannot coach from the booth. There's just no way because you have to. I feel like motivating your team and every play. I make my quarterback run to me and talk to him before every play call because I want to see what he's seeing from his point of view and if he has any suggestions. I'm gonna push this forward real fast because we got to go. We got 3 minutes, real fast. Look. We talked about Ken Dorsey. I think that's a fair concern. And I think you even met, like, I'm not saying if anyone should be pushing the panic button, like our title of our last video, it wasn't Josh Allen. I think it was more Ken Dorsey, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go out and fire Ken Dorsey. I'm just saying I think it's fair to make a concern, that fans can be concerned about Ken Dorsey and this offense. Jackson, what's your take real fast from an outsider looking at the Bills? What are you thinking? We got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so we got to move.
Look, just outsider looking in, big rival this team has with me and the Chiefs. I think this team is fine. I still think they're equally as scary as they were coming into the season. Josh Allen, turnovers are going to happen. It's kind of a part of his game. The guy is still a beast. These next couple weeks are going to tell us a lot. They have some tough games. Outsider looking in, though, this team's fine. Beginning of the season, you're going to see some, flaws in games, but it's why you practice every week. You're going to get those figured out. I think this team's fine. No reason to worry.
No, Josh Allen's phenomenal. I mean, you got Khalil Shakir, who I like. They got to get him the ball more. I know you got a touchdown. You got James Cook, who I love, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. They got to probably add another receiver too. That's something I'm going to say. Tyler, real fast. And I'm sorry, buddy, you got like 15 seconds. What are your thoughts on this team?
No reason for concern. I think they obviously looked way better against the Raiders, and I think they'll continue that momentum for probably the rest of the year. I still think this is a playoff team. Even if they don't win the division, I do think that would be a scary 5 to 6 seed for anyone who has to play them. And the run game actually looks better. I would say I'm still a little concerned with pass protection a little bit.
Okay, here we go. Real fast. We got a minute, so we got to be fast. I'm going to go Jackson, Tyler, me, then we'll go to Bills. Do the Buffalo Bills win the division? Jackson, what's your take? And you're going to be held accountable for these takes. So what do you think?
No, because I think the Miami Dolphins will out-explode them.
Okay, Tyler?
You know what? I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to stay Buffalo. I'm going to say Buffalo stays hot, and I'll see with the reliability of Tua down the stretch. I'm going to stick with Buffalo.
I would have went Buffalo all year long, but that Miami team is looking good, and I don't like Tua, and I like Josh Allen, and I really want to go Buffalo, but I'm telling you, New England's tough too. It can go either way, but I hate to say it, but I'm going to go Miami wins the division. Last but not least, Bills Mafia. What do you think?
Obviously, I have to say Buffalo. My reasonings being is Miami's defense is not nearly as good as ours. They let up too many points, but their offense is lethal. And my competition before would have been the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, but obviously he's out for the season, so that makes things a bit easier on us. So.
I agree. All right, that's all from us. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are
Built better.
Built better.
180. 180, set.
Hehehehe